Next one's for you.
Mm.
Cool. Electricity tampering has been noted at a rental property. Landlord and tenant both plead innocent. I'm assuming it's an agent asking the question. The landlord wants to cancel the lease. The tenant also refuses to be held liable for the scenario. The previous tenants used 2K a month. These guys are using 450 since April. But they're claiming to use solar except for the geyser and the gate and the refrigerators and the ladies' hairdryer. So the 450 is for those 4 appliances. How can the guilty party be identified? I don't know if that's so much a lawyer question, but maybe experience helps there. Does the landlord have grounds to cancel? What do you think?
So I think with regards to this question, the one thing that we haven't really been given is what is the type of tampering that's gone on here. And unfortunately, it's a pretty critical question. There is some explanation as to why the electricity is lower than expected, at least from the tenant side in the circumstances. And if say there was an installation of solar panels during the last couple of months, then an explanation like that would necessitate that maybe that is the correct position. But if it is a circumstance, for instance, where you've got a tenant who has literally taken their coat hanger and put it over, the telephone lines on the outside, I mean, that's an entirely different story about, what we're doing in the circumstances. So it's difficult to assess, and I certainly won't make an assessment on who is the guilty party or how you would go through that without the information about what has been tampered with. It's very hard to actually suss that out. But what I will say, in respect of tenants who perform illegal acts on a property, okay, if it can be shown, and if there's something that is not allowed that's going on a property, and theft of electricity by whatever means is clearly not allowed, and as a homeowner, as the landlord of a particular property, you are going to be the one who's sitting on the wrong side of the relevant municipality in the circumstances, and they're going to look to you for the fact that electricity is stolen, okay, or in law at least they can. So as a property owner, it is absolutely in your interest to ensure that if there is something illicit that is going on in your particular premises, okay, that you address it as quickly as possible so that you don't have to answer the questions at the end of the day for the relevant municipal body that's looking after you. Okay. With respect to the cancellation aspect, okay, this is difficult. And it's the same thing that Bruno had said in our previous question. What you really need here is a good lease agreement that deals with illegal or illicit activities on your premises. Okay, so for instance, the TPM lease agreement has a section set out for if there is any illegal activity, you can cancel immediately. Okay, and it's specifically set out within the lease agreement, and that is really what you want in a circumstance like this. Okay, because then absolutely, if you can show that there is some illicit conduct on behalf of the tenants, okay, and as I've said before, that really depends on what is happening in the circumstances, then you have the right to cancel. Okay, it's far more difficult if you don't have a specific clause dealing with illicit activities on a particular premises. Okay, there is still an ability to do it, perhaps. Okay, but you really have to then go to the root of a particular contract and then show that the root of that contract has fallen away as a result of the conduct. And I don't know if you're going to get that for something like, tampering with an electricity meter or theft of electricity in the circumstances. It's a very difficult thing to argue. And especially if you've got now a written lease agreement which doesn't deal with it at all, and now you're trying to insert that clause, that's even more difficult. But from the information that we've been given, unfortunately, I mean, but maybe the tenants are absolutely frugal and they turn off their geyser every day and only put it on for an hour, turn it back off, and they don't use electricity for anything else. It's possible. These tenants are not using no electricity. That always worries me. If people are are in a particular property and there's absolutely no usage, that's a clear red flag that you should be looking at. These guys have brought the electricity down. Maybe they're really good. Maybe previous tenants had, were wasteful with their electricity usage and they just didn't care. If I was the landlord in the circumstances, I'd be very careful about assuming without actually knowing that there has been some tampering just because an electricity bill has gone down. And certainly be careful if you are the landlord. You don't want to make an assumption and cancel an agreement early without knowing that there's a proper breach and your ability to cancel is solid, because that will end up being a repudiation of the agreement and you will have a tenant coming back for damages suffered as a result of the early cancellation of the lease agreement. So you want to be very careful. I think there needs to be a little bit more research in this particular circumstance to find out exactly what's happened before we can give a solid answer.
I totally agree, because I was going to say the problem is there's not a lot of facts, so there's speculation. An inspection of the property going, okay, guys, you know what? Let's sort this out once and for all. We're going to go onto the property and we're going to do an inspection. If it turns out that the tenant's liable, the tenant did something wrong, you probably claim damages from the tenant. If the landlord really didn't know that there was solar, because solar is a big one as well. So is there solar or isn't there solar? It's not like oh, you quickly put it on the roof, the landlord's coming. So is there or isn't there? So most of these things seem to be run by solar. So I'd go so far as to say a drive-by might actually even assist in figuring this out.
Yeah, or even, notice to the tenant that you want to come and inspect the property to see what's going on with the electricity charges. You're perfectly entitled as a landlord to do that. And give notice and go inspect the property to see what's going on. And in that way, figure out what is actually happening and what this, the tampering is. Take your electrician, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Cool.